What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my Marathon Training 2 series. This is episode 5, and for this week, we're going to be covering June 15th to June 21st. Let's go ahead and jump on into it. Welcome back, guys, and welcome to episode 5. This week we had a big week. We ran a lot, we ran a long time, and we ran pretty dang fast. Before we jump over to the calendar, I just wanted to talk about a special thing that's happened this week. This week I had my 100th workout for this training, and I thought that was pretty cool. It was my Thursday run, and I never really kept track of numbers the first time around, and so this time to hit 100 now was awesome, and it made me so excited to keep going. But with that said, let's jump over to the calendar, take a look at the runs this week, and see what went on. So looking at the calendar for this week, we had a very good week. On Tuesday, we started off with our 7-mile interval run with 4 sections of 10 minutes fast with 3-minute recovery. Ended up doing 7 miles at just over 10 minutes a mile and a total time of 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 25 seconds. This was by far the best paced run as well as interval run I think we've had yet. I think I mentioned in the last episode that this was going to be the longest first run of the week, but also the longest interval run that I've done in a very long time, maybe ever. And so I'm glad that this went super well. It ended up pushing my pace pretty far forward, as well as just showing myself that you can do these kinds of faster runs. I remember more than a few weeks ago, I think I also mentioned this in the last episode, that in my Sunday runs, which is usually my long runs, it gave me a goal of 8 miles in under 2 hours. I almost hit 7 miles at an hour, and so that was pretty awesome. So moving ahead to Thursday, and as I mentioned, this was my 100th workout of the year for this training, and it was a fairly simple and straightforward 6 miles, easy. It says at 11 minutes 30 seconds pace. I ended up doing it just over 10 minutes. So 6 miles, just over 10 minutes. That'll come out to about an hour and 50 seconds worth of running. And that was number 100 in the books. Then moving on to Saturday. And here is something that I think I've really enjoyed and I think I want to continue doing in the future. So Saturdays have been, relatively easy. 3 miles has been the staple for the last few weeks. And so what I decided to do, not this previous Saturday, but the Saturday before that, was I would end my run downtown, and then I kind of just ended up walking around downtown Saturday morning when no one was around and just taking pictures of cool things that I thought, cool angles, places that maybe wouldn't see that few people that often. And so I did that again this week. I ran down towards the Tower of Americas in downtown San Antonio and then kind of just walked around with, nobody out, nobody around, it just being quiet and peaceful, and just took pictures. And if you don't follow me on Instagram, you absolutely should. The link will be down in the description, or you can find it at Mr. Dakota Zero on Instagram, and you'll see a lot of the results of those escapades of just walking around taking photos. I think it's pretty cool, and it's a neat way to see the different parts of downtown that you probably wouldn't normally see just in day-to-day life. So with Saturday over, we move on to Sunday, which was an interesting experience because it was 14 miles run walk in 2.5 hours. And I realized before I ran, or like right when I woke up, that I think this is the longest run I've ever done since I ran the marathon in 2018. And so it was an interesting experience, an interesting thought process to work through, that you haven't run anywhere near this far since you did it almost a year and a half ago. And so I think it kind of messed with my head a little bit in the beginning, and it took me a little bit to kind of get into the flow of the run and to kind of get settled in. I remember I just took off less than half a mile in, and all I was thinking about was man, this is going to be a long run. And it was a long run, but it ended up working out all right. I met my goal, even though it really didn't feel like I would. So the numbers, it ended up being 14 miles at 10.5 minutes per mile at just under 2.5 hours. So I did successfully hit the goal of 2.5 hours. It wasn't quite the smashing that a lot of these have been in the past, where it's been X miles in this amount of time. But you know what? I made the goal, so count that as a win. Moving forward to our weekly totals, those of you who have been following along could probably tell that 30 miles this week with an average pace of 10 minutes and 10 seconds per mile, and a total moving time of 5 hours, 8 minutes, and 58 seconds. That is insane. And even so, actually, I'll go back here for a moment and point out Saturday, where it says 3 miles plus about 1.5. So I figured out that when you stop, in the middle of downtown and finish your run there, you still got to get home. And so I ran probably another mile and a half worth of run walking to actually get home. So, add plus or minus, 1.5 miles to these, maybe not so much in an official capacity. So jumping back to our weekly totals, 30 miles, by far the most miles I've put in 1 week. Pace, best pace I've ever had. And total time. To the thought of that I was running for over 5 hours this week is insane to me. And it is something that is definitely not happening. I definitely have not run that long since the marathon. So I ran my marathon in 5 hours and 11 minutes. And I ran for 4 runs this week. I ran in 5 hours and 8 minutes total. So, looking at it as segments, I smashed my 26.2 miles in under 5 hours. I definitely will beat my old time if I could split it up across 4 days. But that's gonna be wrap it up for looking at these. Let's go ahead and move forward, and we'll look at next week's runs. So looking ahead to next week, we have 4 more runs to do, and boy, do they look even more fun than last week's. So we started off on Tuesday with a 5-mile interval run with 5 intervals of 6 minutes fast, 2 minutes recovery. This seems like a really interesting decision, and like the interval size. 10 minutes was a really long time to feel like running fast. I think a couple before that, it was a mixture of 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, which felt extra, quick running through the cycles. So doing 5 intervals of 6 minutes will probably be, probably about the same. I'm really enjoying these interval runs because it's really showing me that, you can vary your pace, and it really helps when you decide to run that constant pace. So very okay with those. Moving ahead to Thursday, we have 6-mile quick. I'm going to have to double check and see what that quick means. It can mean a lot of things, but I'm guessing that it means just, faster than easy, or the 11.5 minutes a mile it likes to have you run. So this one will probably end up being just a normal 6 miles for me. Probably aiming for right around, that 10-minute mark that I've been getting pretty close to hitting consistently. And I think that'll be my goal for Thursday. Maybe hit it at or under an hour. And then finally, Saturday, we've moved off and away from the 3-mile Saturday run. So now we have a 4-mile Saturday run. And, this is a Saturday run. These runs have been kind of the nice part about the week, just kind of, wake up, not have to worry about doing anything fancy, not having to worry about any major distances, just a nice 4-mile, just get out and get moving before we move on to the granddaddy of them all, Sunday, 16 miles in 3 hours. Boy, do I have thoughts. One, it was already hard enough for me this previous week to wrap my head around the fact that I was running 14 miles. Now it immediately turns around and goes, okay, you did that. Now tack on 2 more in 30 minutes or less. 14 miles really kicked me. And so 16 miles is only going to get that much harder. And thinking about it, that's only 10 miles away from running a full marathon distance. And it's kind of becoming a little more real. So, 16 miles is going to be something to contend with, and we're going to do our best. But I'm definitely going to have to come up with a new route. I really pushed my my long distance route to the max, and I'm really going to have to get creative on coming up with 2 more miles to do. But you know what? That's kind of the thing, something that comes with it. Maybe we'll just push out one more direction, and we'll get it figured out from there. But that's going to be workouts 103 to 106, June 22nd to 28th. Let's looking forward to these runs. I think it's going to be another great week. I'm really interested to see my numbers for this next week. I've discovered that as I go, I love to see the numbers at the end of the week. I remember when I did my calculations and stuff to finish up last week, that I immediately went back through every other month up to now and realized, like, man, all of my numbers have steadily been going up and up. And so it gets me excited to get into the next week's runs to see what the numbers look like for the end of that week. So that's going to wrap up episode 5, guys. We took a look back at my great week last week and looking ahead to probably a fairly up and down challenging week next week. I hope that you guys had a great week and have a great week ahead. If you like this video, please give it a like. I know it really helps me out. And if you want to keep up with these videos, I release these along with other videos intermittently, at least once a week. So please hit that subscribe button to keep up with what I post. And leave a comment down below on your updated on your training schedule and how your runs have been going, or even your other workouts. That we don't have to limit ourselves to just running here. I don't want to just pigeonhole this channel or this series into just running. Is it a biking event? Is it a swimming event? Just let me know down below, and I'm excited to hear from you. So that's gonna wrap it up for me here. See you guys next week.